Post-editing Red Eye here. This video was originally going to be part of a 5-episode, 5-weekly batch to go up on Tuesdays, as was going to be the tradition with all of Season 3 of Takeshi Tuesdays. That just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and I'm trying to wrap up some of the stuff for Gen 6 of the channel. So I'm just going to release these as I can, and this one's been recorded for a long time, so it's going to be released on no particular date, just when they're done. You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome back to Takeshi Tuesdays. We're on Season 3, Volume 2. Because I think volume is the term I will use for these different 5-episode batches, so there will be 3 volumes of Season 3. But today we'll be talking about the movie While the Women Are Sleeping. Now, While the Women Are Sleeping, I'm pretty sure has never actually had, a US release, but there are Blu-rays that actually have English subtitles despite being Asian releases, so that's how I was able to see it. The movie itself was directed by Wayne Wang, and obviously stars Takeshi Kitano, otherwise it wouldn't be in this series. The movie itself was released on January 17th, 2016 at the Waseda Film Festival, before getting a theatrical Japanese release on February 27th in 2016 as well. Takeshi himself isn't necessarily the main character, although he is one of the main characters. The arguably main character is played by Hidetoshi Nishijima, who also appeared in Dolls as Matsumoto, so, he has worked with stuff involving Takeshi before. And obviously I've already reviewed Dolls on Takeshi Tuesdays some time ago. While the Women Are Sleeping is kind of an obscure one, because, the Wikipedia page actually doesn't have a ton of information about it, and even the IMDb page is very limited on what it says about the plot. But to sum it up in my own words, essentially the movie is about this couple that goes to a resort and just kind of relaxing. The husband himself is a writer, and he's the guy played by Hidetoshi Nishijima. Him and his wife are hanging out by the pool where they encounter an older man played by Takeshi with a younger lady that appears to be his romantic interest of some sort. It's actually never made 100% clear what the relationship between the two is, but essentially throughout the movie, the main character goes across and, gets kind of fascinated with Takeshi and his young companion, and starts kind of stalking them and following them around, and asking questions about them around town. And one of the shopkeepers in town is actually kind of fishy about it too, because there seems to be some weird stuff that's never explicitly stated in this movie. And this movie does leave a lot of unanswered questions, which I think is both kind of a good thing and a bad thing. It's unique, but it's also a little hard to follow at times, admittedly. But Takeshi's character is later revealed to have a habit of recording his female companion whenever she's asleep, just with a video camera sitting there recording her. And there's not really any significance to it, but he says he wants to record her last day on Earth. So that's an interesting thing about it, but the main character also seems kind of fascinated about this. Now, obviously, with Takeshi Tuesdays, we don't do spoilers, so I'm not going to get too much into spoiler territory, but the movie does get very hard to follow later on. There's a murder at some point, and I can't tell exactly if Takeshi is supposed to be involved or who he's supposed to have killed, because I get kind of contradictory stuff, because they make you think it might have been one person, but then that person is shown to be fine, I think. I don't know, it gets a little hard to follow in the third act of the movie, at which point it kind of falls flat in my opinion. I think the first 2 acts of the movie are great and interesting and suspenseful, but when you get to the third act, I'm just lost, because there's a lot of unanswered questions. They start going off in all these weird directions, and it just feels like they were kind of trying to be really artsy. So I couldn't really figure out what the hell was going on towards the end. On IMDb, people give it a 5.4 out of 10, which I think is a fairly good rating, in comparison to it, just because the third act is kind of, mind-boggling. But I would say I would probably give it a little bit higher, maybe a 6.5 or close to a 7, but I would say 6.5 is probably a good point to put this movie on a 1 to 10 scale. I think that the movie itself is very entertaining and fascinating for the first, 2/3 of the movie, but when you get towards the end, it's just I have no idea what the hell is going on anymore. That said, the characters themselves were interesting, Takeshi's performance was fantastic, and the movie itself was visually appealing. So at the very least, it is worth watching in some respects. But anyway, that's all I really have to say about this one. This is obviously another movie that Takeshi starred in but didn't direct, as I went over the director and all that earlier. But obviously, like I said before, we've already finished all of Takeshi's directorial works. I'll probably stop putting that disclaimer in these because it probably gets annoying to people if they're binging this series. But yeah, that does it for this episode of Takeshi Tuesdays. I will see you next time.
Subscribe to Fugitive Red Eye.